Well, hello, people. I will be talking about Christopher Marlowe and Sir Walter Raleigh today. Both of them are Renaissance poets and playwrights. We have one poem by Christopher Marlowe and another poem by Sir Walter Raleigh. They were quite famous during their when they lived. And before talking about the poems, I'm going to talk about the life of Christopher Marlowe. As you can see here, he was born in 1564 and he died in 1593. So he died quite early, at an early age. I mean, it's because he was killed in a bar fight, actually. He has a relatively small body of work. He has written only 7 plays. And he has written some poems as well, but he achieved all of these things in 6 years. His plays are quite diverse. He has written history plays, he has written tragedies, he has written heroic dramas, and his poems were also very famous during his age. He was born in, as I have said, he was born in Canterbury in 1564. The same year as Shakespeare. His father was a shoemaker, but also he was an actor. And his mother was a daughter of a clergyman. And so both theater, the knowledge of the theater through his father, and the knowledge of theology, religion, through his mother, shaped Christopher Marlowe. So despite his father's humble occupation, as I have said, he was a shoemaker. Marlowe was well educated, first at King's School in Canterbury, and then at Cambridge University. So during the latter part of his time at Cambridge, Christopher Marlowe frequently disappeared for extended periods of time. So he was nowhere to be found. It is likely, well, as some historians think, that Marlowe was recruited as a spy by Queen Elizabeth, because at that time England was a Protestant country and Spain was the other dominant force in the world, in Europe, and Spain was a Catholic country. And therefore, both of these countries needed a lot of spies, and there was a Catholic plot to assassinate Queen Elizabeth. So some historians think that Christopher Marlowe became a spy for Queen Elizabeth, to help Queen Elizabeth. He did not follow. I mean, his first study was actually on theology, but he did not become a priest, and he instead chose to become a writer. So Marlowe left Cambridge and he moved to London to pursue a career as a playwright. But his years in London were marked by violence. For example, in 1589, he spent 2 weeks in Newgate prison. And he was charged with the murder of a person, but then he was acquitted and he was released. And later on, in 1592, there are some court records which indicate that he was in a street fight where another man was killed. But throughout these same years, in spite of these accusations, throughout these same years, Marlowe's career soared. I mean, he became very famous, his literary career, I mean, of course. So he had the luxury of being hired by the Lord Admiral's Company. So that was a theater group, which meant that the finest of London's actors would perform his plays. So he was writing for a very famous actors group when he lived. His first major plays, for example, including Tamburlaine the Great. Tamburlaine is Timur, as we call him in Turkish, Tamburlaine the Great. It was a violence-filled play. It was produced in 1587, and it was very popular. Over the next 6 years, Marlowe wrote at least 5 more plays. For example, The Jew of Malta, he wrote it in 1589. In 1592, he wrote Edward II. And then he wrote Massacre of Paris. Then he wrote Dido, the Queen of Carthage. And then probably his most famous drama work is The Tragical History of Dr. Faustus. And then Marlowe in 1593, Marlowe died, and there was a big controversy about around the reasons. According to the coroner's report, Marlowe and a number of his friends were eating at a tavern outside of London, but suddenly an argument arose between Marlowe and another person in this tavern over the bill, over money. The report says that Marlowe attacked this person with a knife and injured him, but then this person took the knife from Marlowe's hand and he stabbed him in the head, and Marlowe died instantly. And some people believe that there was a conspiracy behind this, because, as I have said, Marlowe was thought of as a spy. And of course, there are some other speculations as well, because, for example, at that time, Marlowe had recently been arrested on charges of being an atheist. So some scholars, for example, have speculated that members of the government actually feared that Marlowe would identify other atheists in high positions, and therefore they wanted to get rid of him. Well, this is basically his biography, and then so let's talk about The Passionate Shepherd to His Love, his poem that I have selected for you. So, as I have told you when I was talking about the Renaissance period, with Renaissance, things became man-centered. I mean, humanity became at the center instead of religion. And that idea was called humanism. Okay, so literature was also affected by this as well. For example, in this poem, The Passionate Shepherd to His Love, you can clearly see that this is a very personal poem. Instead of talking about God, or instead of talking about higher things, higher opinions, we have a very personal poem which talks about love. And this was not a very popular subject during the Middle Ages, but here we are. Okay, let's start reading the poem, and I'm going to try to analyze the poem line by line as we read it. Okay. Come live with me and be my love, and we will all the pleasures prove that valleys, groves, hills, and fields, woods or steepy mountain yields. So in this first stanza, in this 4-line stanza, you can see that this poem is addressed to a woman, and he tells her, the speaker, Marlowe, the speaker tells her to come live with him, and he wants her to be his love. And he says that he proposes that we will all the pleasures prove. Prove here means to try. We will try to have all the pleasures. Of course, these means sexual pleasures. We will try all these sexual pleasures where? In the valleys, in the groves, in the hills, in the forests, in the mountains. Okay, so he says that he basically is saying that we are going to make love everywhere, okay? And we will sit upon the rocks, seeing the shepherds feed their flocks by shallow rivers to whose falls melodious birds sing madrigals. So they are going to, so here Christopher Marlowe is continuing his proposal. So we are going to spend some time in nature, okay? So the appreciation of nature is also another popular theme for poets during the Renaissance. So they are going to sit upon the rocks and they're going to watch the shepherds with their sheep. Okay, we are going to sit by the rivers and we are going to listen to the songs of the birds. And I will make thee beds of roses and 1,000 fragrant posies, a cap of flowers and a kirtle embroidered all with leaves of myrtle. So he's saying that I'm going to make you beds from what? From roses. And I'm going to make you a cap, a hat, or let's say a cap of from flowers, or a skirt from the, again, from the things that I find from nature. What else is he proposing her? A gown made of the finest wool, which from our pretty lambs we pulled. Fair lined slippers for the cold, with buckles of the purest gold. Again, he is still talking about all those things that he proposes her. That, I mean, he's proposing her that he's offering her that he's going to make her some things to wear. And what are these clothing made of? They are made of the things from the nature, from nature. For example, he's going to knit her a gown made from the sheep, from the wool of the sheep that you just saw. I mean, there in the second stanza for here we saw that seeing the shepherds feed their flock. So he is talking about a shepherd and his flock. Flock means a group of sheep, and he is going to pull the wool from those sheep, and he is going to make her a wool. All right. A belt of straw and ivy buds with coral clasps and amber studs. And if these, okay, so in these two lines, a belt of straw and ivy buds with coral clasps and amber studs. So he is still continuing the same proposition. He is going to make her something. So it's like, think about some birds, for example, maybe you have seen those in documentaries. So the male bird gives some gifts, some presents to the female bird, right? So for example, he brings the male bird brings the female bird a shiny stone or a beautiful leaf, things like that, so that the female bird is going to be affected by, but be seduced by the male bird. So he, throughout, up until this point, he's just trying to impress this woman that he is imagining, that he is talking about. Okay, I'm going to give you this and this and this if you agree to be my love. All right, and if these pleasures may thee move, by move he means if you're impressed by these pleasures, come live with me and be my love. Now we are at the final stanza. So here we have a kind of a conclusion, a resolution here. The shepherd's swains shall dance and sing for thy delight each May morning. If these delights thy mind may move, then live with me and be my love. So again, if you agree to what I'm offering you, so what I have offered you so far, then you can come live with me and be my love. So this is, there is another poem after that, the nymph's reply to the shepherd. So you can probably see that there's a similarity between the two titles. So the poem that I've just read is The Passionate Shepherd to His Love, and the other one is The Nymph's Reply to the Shepherd. So the shepherd here is Christopher Marlowe, or at least the speaker in his poem. And as you can see here, as you can understand from the title, Sir Walter Raleigh's poem is a reply to this first poem, The Passionate Shepherd to His Love, The Nymph's Reply to the Shepherd. So it was quite popular during that period for different poets to write poems which answered each other, which talked to each other. Okay, so in a sense, they were trying to have fun, and they were trying to maybe sometimes have a competition with the other poets. Okay, okay, I have written this. You have written this poem, and I have written a reply to this poem. And look, my poem is better than yours. Maybe we can say that. So let's go back to Sir Walter Raleigh. Let's talk about his life. So he was one of the leading courtiers. Courtier is, by the way, courtier is a person who lives in the court. Okay, who lives in the court, and he carries out some jobs for the monarch, for the king or the queen. Okay, for example, Sir Walter Raleigh. He was an adventurer for Elizabeth, and he was also a poet for Elizabeth. So he was one of the leading courtiers, adventurers, and literary figures of the Elizabethan era. So he was from time to time regarded as a hero, and sometimes he was regarded as a traitor at the same time in his lifetime. He both, let's say, he both profited and he also suffered from his close relationship to Elizabeth I. He was known for his gallantry. He was known for his gentlemanly behavior, for his fighting ability, and he was also known for his efforts at colonization of America as well. Particularly, he had a colony in Virginia in America. So as you know, these are the years where European colonizers began colonizing America. What else? And he was also famous for, very famous for bringing tobacco into European culture. So this person, Sir Walter Raleigh, is responsible for bringing tobacco, smoking to Europe. Before that, tobacco did not grow in the rest of the world. It's tobacco actually is an American plant originally. Okay, so Sir Walter Raleigh brought this habit to Europe. He was also the author of literary works which ranged from love poetry to exploration narratives, and he also attempted to start. He started writing a book on the history of the world, but he could not actually finish it. So in 1572. When he was around 20 years of age, he was studying at Oriel College in Oxford, but then he left college. He did not finish his studies. He finished his education in the Inns of Court. Inn of Court is like a practice bureau for lawyers. Okay, he finished his education among lawyers. It's quite difficult to date his poems accurately. We cannot really know when his poems were written, because he did not, I mean, he wrote them, but then he circulated them among the courtiers, and maybe once he wrote a poem, he did not immediately made it known, but then he made his poem appear a couple of years later after its first being written down. So what else? So Raleigh's poetry is usually, again, just like Christopher Marlowe, is personal, and there are some certain themes such as love, loss, or beauty, or time. The majority of his poems are short lyrics. Lyric is a personal poem. Okay, again, and so in 1578, he started a journey to North America, and then he spent some time fighting in Ireland for England. As you know, Ireland was a colony of England at that time as well. And when he returned to England in 1581, Sir Walter Raleigh caught Queen Elizabeth's attention, and he became her favorite poet, and she began paying him a lot of money. And then, in 1592, Raleigh's rise to importance in Elizabeth's court stopped suddenly because he secretly married to one of the Queen's attendants, one of the Queen's maids, let's say. Okay, so he made a secret marriage, and the Queen had him imprisoned in the Tower of London for some time. Then, I mean, she locked him for several months, but then she stopped seeing him. But then 5 years later, Raleigh became a favorite of the Queen again. And he was always critical. I mean, he was always against Spain's colonial and naval power. And he never lost his interest in North America. And he made frequent colonizing adventures, colonizing expeditions to America. At that time, as you know, England and Spain were constantly competing for colonizing America. There were always in a race. There was always a race between England and Spain. So Elizabeth died in 1603, and James I became the king. But then, as you know, as I've just told you, Sir Walter Raleigh was a favorite of Queen Elizabeth I. But when James I took the throne in 1603, Raleigh, again, he returned to the Tower of London. He was imprisoned in Tower of London again for almost 13 years because there was a made up, let's say, there was a phony made up conviction. I mean, people said that Sir Walter Raleigh supported a rival's claim to the throne. So instead of supporting James I, he supported somebody else to take the throne. So he was imprisoned for 13 years. And then he was released from prison in 1617. And then he continued his colonization efforts, but then he came back empty-handed. I mean, he couldn't find anything valuable in these expeditions. And James I executed him in 1618. So this is basically the life story of Sir Walter Raleigh. And now let's talk about his poem, his reply to Christopher Marlowe's poem. All right, so it starts with, if all the world and love were young. So again, imagine, this is the woman speaking. This is the woman from the first poem, from Christopher Marlowe's poem speaking, and she is replying Christopher Marlowe. If all the world and love were young, and truth in every shepherd's tongue, these pretty pleasures might me move to live with thee and be thy love. So she is making an irony here. So she is making fun of Christopher Marlowe's shepherd's propositions. So she says, if all the world and love were young. So is the world young? No, it's not. The world is old. So if the world was young, I would believe you. This is basically what she says. And truth in every shepherd's tongue. So if shepherds told the truth all the time, but there was this stereotype, there was this impression, this belief of shepherds being liars, okay? At that time, shepherds are usually thought as lying people. So if all the world and love were young, and it's not, and truth in every shepherd's tongue, and it's not, these pretty pleasures might me move to live with thee and be thy love. So if these things were true, I would live with thee and be your love, but I'm not, apparently. Time drives the flocks from field to fold. When rivers rage and rocks grow cold, and Philomel becometh dumb, the rest complains of cares to come. So what she's doing in this stanza and the following stanzas is that she is one by one replying to all these things that Christopher Marlowe's shepherd proposed her. Okay, so time passes is the dominant theme throughout this poem. Time passes and time changes everything. Okay, so these beautiful things that you tell me, or these beautiful, pretty things that you are gifting to me, they will lose their value with time. This is what this whole poem is about. The flowers do fade, and wanton fields to wayward winter reckoning yields. A honey tongue, a heart of gall, is fancy's spring, but sorrow's fall. So the flowers fade. I mean, these you were proposing me some hats or skirts or other dresses made of flowers, but the flowers fade. Everything, I mean, natural things die. Okay, and a honey tongue or a heart of gall is fancy's spring, but sorrow's fall. So so pretty words are impressive at first sight. Fancy means imagination here. Fancy means imagination. So imagination makes beautiful words seem like spring, where we are happy. But then the fall comes, the autumn comes, and we become sorrowful. So what you are proposing to me, these beautiful words, I know that they will not last, they will not endure. Thy gowns, thy shoes, thy beds of roses, thy cap, thy kirtle, and thy posies soon break, soon wither, soon forgotten. So you remember these were the things that the shepherd proposed her: the gown, the shoe, the cap, the kirtle, the posies. She says they will break, they will wither, they will be forgotten. In folly ripe, in reason rotten. In folly means excitement, especially the excitement that you feel when you are young and happy and you fall in love very easily at very early ages. So these things that you're proposing to me are like the love of a young person. It's temporary. In reason, by reason, she means logic. When I think about these things, they rot, okay? They rot. Thy belt of straw and ivy buds, thy coral clasps and amber studs, all these in me no means can move to come to thee and be thy love. So again, she's saying the same things. These things, the belt of straw, the ivy buds, the coral clasps, amber studs, that these are the things that we learned about in the first poem. They don't move me, they don't impress me enough to come to you and be your love. But could youth lust and love still breed, had joys no date, nor age, nor need, then these delights my mind might move to live with thee and be thy love. So this is the conclusion of the second poem. She says, if youth could last, but does the youth last? No, it doesn't. We get old eventually. And love still breed, had joys no date, nor age, no need. Joys, do they have an ending? Yes, joys end eventually. No joy, no happiness is eternal. If these were true, if youth could last forever, if joys could last forever, then your delights, then those gifts, these promises could move, could impress my mind to live with you and be your love. So what she's saying here is that all those things that you promised me shepherd, all those things that you promised me, they are all temporary. I have to be clever, right? I have to use my reason. I cannot be stupid. I can't, these things that you promise me are the result of your folly, your imagination, your youth. But I know that you are going to lose your interest in me, and your words will become harsher, and your gifts will lose their value, and we will get old, and I don't trust you. So that's why I have to be clever, and I cannot submit myself to my heart. So I have to listen to my mind. I have to listen to my reason. So no, I refuse being your lover. That's what she says. So as you have seen, Renaissance poetry is quite entertaining when you compare it to Middle Ages poetry, so medieval poetry. So this was a first taste for you of Renaissance poetry. And I have chosen these two poems deliberately to make you have a general feeling of Renaissance writing. All right, so that was all. Thank you for listening.